Whenever we see a beach drowning case in newspaper, it hurts a lot. Today also in the newspaper there was a news about death of one student and five of the group are still missing. Why is it happening that a jolly trip of a group of people is suddenly taking a sad turn? People go to beaches for enjoyment. Then why this type of accidents are happening? Welcome to one more episode of safety issues that we are facing in our day-to-day life. Those who are coming to beaches to enjoy holiday or a trip to some tourist place must first understand the hazards involved in the sea. Magnitude of water present in the sea is beyond our imagination, and this water possesses enormous power, which no one should underestimate. Many who come to sea beaches consider the sea as a bigger swimming pool and consider the shores as the safest zone. The reality is exactly opposite. Sea is the most turbulent in beaches and very calm inside, except in the cases of natural phenomena like cyclones or depressions. Once in a group, they engross so much among themselves in the fun that they completely forget about all the aspects of the sea hazards. We all know that the training of swimming in our society in general is very poor. Gone are the days when as a child we used to take bath in ponds and rivers. In cities, most of us see water in the bottles and pipelines only. So when someone goes to places as a tourist where sea beaches may be there, or for that matter any water body is there, be it a river, a pond or a waterfall, they naturally get attracted towards it. Our lack of swimming knowledge and over enthusiasm after seeing a sea beach and one of the not much known phenomena in the sea, that is the rip current. These three factors are causing many deaths due to water related sea beach accidents. Even cases involving Indians are more from abroad too. We must try to understand that these accidents are completely avoidable and should not happen at all. For obvious reasons, most of the victims are very youngsters and many are just school going children. Today we will discuss this rip current that is associated with sea beaches and which accounts for so many deaths in our country, and particularly sea beaches in Visakhapatnam are more prone to such accidents. Every year in our country many deaths are happening due to drowning in sea beaches while enjoying with family and friends. Those who are familiar with sea behavior will never venture beyond a safe distance, and they also understand that in sea it is not necessary for us to remain deep in water to get drowned. Sea waves have enormous power and it can topple a person who is standing only in knee-deep water, and a rip can carry the person to sea along with it. The real problem comes with the people who are completely ignorant of the sea behavior and simply do whatever they want on the beach as if they are in a swimming pool. Even the best swimmers have lost their lives in beach-related accidents. So we must not take the things lightly, and once the phenomena is understood properly and by taking adequate precautions, we can completely remove the threat and save many lives. So let us understand how the rip currents are formed. Along with every incoming sea wave, an enormous amount of seawater is reaching the shore, and every new wave brings in additional water with it. This water does not and cannot remain at the shore and it has to go back. But the incoming waves are continuous and they keep on pushing all the water towards the beach shore only. This accumulated water has to gather momentum and strength to go back, which it gets when sufficient water is available, and literally they rip apart the incoming wave to make way to go back to sea again. From this phenomena only it got its name. It forms a channel in between the incoming waves and all the water is released back into the sea again. This channel may be as narrow as 10 feet to up to 100 feet or more depending on the accumulated water and the frequency of the incoming waves. The speed of rip current may be varying from 3 meters a second to 8 meters a second. Its direction is always towards the sea. This may appear safe sometime, but may become dangerous under certain tidal waves or beach shape conditions. This returning accumulated water is only responsible for many deaths in the sea beaches and are called rip current. Rip current can form anywhere, so it is very difficult to predict them in advance. They can repeatedly form in the same locations where some permanent structures like jetties or columns are there in the sea. But otherwise, they keep on changing their location along the beaches. Before we understand why they drown someone on the beach, we must understand some scientific facts about the water and human being, and that is the specific gravity. Specific gravity is the mass per unit volume. For water, it is 1. Any material that has a specific gravity less than 1 is considered as less denser than water, and that particular material will float on water. Similarly, any material with more than 1 specific gravity is denser than water, and that material will sink in water. Average specific gravity of human body is around 0.98. And experiments have shown that in pure water, any object that has a specific gravity less than 0.985 will float. But seawater is not pure water. It has 3.5% of salt weight-wise within it, and its average specific gravity is 1.026. In this saline water, any material having specific gravity less than 1.01 will float, and therefore all human beings of specific gravity average 0.98 can easily float in seawater. This is one of the most important reasons first why someone gets drowned in the sea beaches, and at the same time this is a very useful information for someone to survive in water after they are caught in the rip current. Here I would like to highlight a very important misconception about the beach drowning cases. They don't happen to the people who go deep in the sea for swimming, because they are already good swimmers and probably understand the sea behavior very well. It happens to the people who are mainly unsuspecting, who are normally not a good swimmer, who are just enjoying water and not really much concerned about the sea hazards. It happened to the people who are in the sea from knee-deep water to waist-height water. You are already knee-deep and above water level. A new wave will further raise the water level in your area. In this situation, even if you are a good swimmer but not much conversant with sea behavior, you may probably get trapped in a rip current. When a wave comes, with its force it may topple you in water. Simultaneously, at that moment of time, if a rip channel is also formed in that place, the person will be simply carried away by the rip, as they are already floating on the water. Rip current may sometimes be very narrow channel of few feet and may carry an unsuspecting person selectively from a group. Sometimes they may be wide enough to carry a big group of people along with it, as happened yesterday. We must therefore clearly understand that in sea beaches where continuous waves are coming, a rip current can form anywhere. It can carry any person standing above knee-deep water after knocking them down, or it can simply carry people who are standing in waist-deep water. Sometimes when a wave comes, we jump up in joy, making the job very easy for the rip to take you away, which takes them towards the sea to a distance where the waves starts breaking, which is normally 30 to 50 meters away from the shore. In fact, it happens so silently that the person who is being carried away also will realize it a little later, and he or she will be enjoying that moment initially in that turbulent water. As I said, the speed of rip current varies from 3 meters to 8 meters per second. Once caught in the stream, it becomes very difficult for even an expert swimmer to swim against the flow and reach up to the shores. Once someone is caught in the rip current, they never are drowning due to water intake. They drown in exhaustion and panic. They find only water around them, and with feet not touching the ground, they desperately attempt to swim back with whatever little idea of swimming they have. Since it is not possible to swim against such a massive current, soon they completely exhaust and lose their courage and strength and get drowned. The only way to come out safely even after getting caught in rip is by remaining calm and having full confidence in your capabilities to survive. As I told earlier, in sea water, a human being cannot sink as our body's specific gravity is less than that of seawater. As per science, we will remain in floating condition only. Also, rip current never takes the victim under the water. It carries them only on the surface. A person who can remember these important facts during the crisis and can remain calm only can survive. All one has to do is to remain steady and keep the head up and continue breathing. Little pedaling of legs and hands by keeping the palm open and pressing the water downwards will also doubly ensure and keep you floating. The victim is carried up to 30 to 60 meters inside the sea, and there the rip current loses its strength against the incoming waves. If the victim is able to hold strength and courage up to this extent, then after finding themselves stable and not drifting further, shout for help and show their presence by waving hands. Help is bound to come. If you know swimming, then this is the pattern you have to follow for swimming back. Gradually you will come to the shore safely. Don't attempt to go directly towards the beach, but gradually take a bigger curve and waves will push you towards the beach only. Waves help you in reaching towards the shore, whereas rip current takes you away from them. If you know the sea behavior and know swimming, you are never at risk. Sea never ditches anyone. We take the things too lightly. It is always possible to safeguard yourself from getting caught in rip. If you don't know how to swim, simply don't go beyond knee-deep water. But as I told earlier, instances are there where people got knocked down in knee-deep water by incoming waves and then eventually drowned. Never go alone to the sea beaches and don't venture much in the sea after sunset. In beaches, if any permanent structures are there, like jetties or some columns, never go near them. In these locations, regular rip waves are formed. Never assume it will not happen to me and strictly follow all the caution signs. Swim in the areas earmarked for swimming and ensure that lifeguards are around, and only if you are a confident swimmer. What should be done if you happen to see someone in trouble caught in a rip current? Throw towards the victim something that can float, like a life jacket, pool rings if it is available, or a big ball. Get help from the lifeguards or call the emergency services. Shout and instruct the victim about the escape route from rip. Guide them to swim. This is possible only if they are near and you could spot them timely. There are many cases when the person trying to save a victim sometimes get drowned themselves. Sometimes the victim may be our own nears and dears, and the situation becomes very difficult to tackle. Now the big question is how to identify a rip current. A clear sign with which an average beach goer can identify a rip current may be very difficult. Still, some guidelines that may help to identify the rip are a channel of foam and debris moving towards the sea, an area with noticeable difference in color, break in the incoming waves, a channel of churning water. Sometimes a rip can exist even without any visible indication. Never leave the children unattended on beaches. We know a case where parents have gone just knee-deep water to have fun, leaving behind the toddler on the beach sand. The beach was very notoriously slopey beach. Suddenly a very high wave came. Upon noticing that, the parents rushed back, but the water that came along with the wave was huge and faster. It simply carried away the child along with it. Without knowledge of parents, school-going children or college students coming in groups and going to beaches and getting drowned is now a very common thing in Visakhapatnam beaches. We all must educate our children about these hazards in a normal course so that they will not take such risks with their friends. In the last 4 years, more than 200 people have died on various beaches in Visakhapatnam. Low tide timings are particularly more vulnerable, as during that time water is pulled inside. In Visakhapatnam, RK Beach to YMCA stretch is more dangerous, and the waves in this zone reaches as close as up to 10 meters to the shore before breaking. Lawson's Bay to Sagar Nagar area. That zone is relatively safe. Waves here are breaking almost 50 meters before the shore. RK Beach is slopey and sandy and has more depth after around 10 meters. Sometimes the victims are simply dragged by receding water during low tides. In beaches, sometimes a deep area will get created due to erosion of sand, which creates a trap for the tourists enjoying. This is a temporary phenomena and it fills back, and a new trap can get created somewhere else. So in view of this many uncertainties, for overall safety, an individual has to take precautions and should not venture into the sea deeper than safe limits of more than knee depth. Don't take risks just by seeing others enjoying themselves in the depth. They may be expert swimmers or the lifeguards and are definitely more conversant with the sea behaviors. Whatever I have said is applicable to all the beaches, and we have to remain alert whenever we go to any beach. Those coming from outside or other states as tourists are more prone to accidents as they try to exploit the water adventure to the maximum, and little or no knowledge of sea behavior may prove fatal occasionally.